Hey everyone, this is Brian Gold with Abode Real Estate, and I am here at the Property Appraiser's office with Broward County Property Appraiser Marty Kerr.
It's good to see you, Brian. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you for this interview. I really appreciate it. I think that our viewers are going to maybe learn some new things about the Property Appraiser's office and so forth.
Absolutely.
So, Marty, tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got into politics and how you ended up in this position.
Sure. Well, the first thing, before I tell you that, I just want to thank you so much for having this today. You know, I have to tell you, I love our realtor community. And the reason being is because you all are kind of our window to the world. Mm-hmm. And you give our office the opportunity to help a whole lot of folks, whether it's signing up for homestead exemptions or portability or just helping them on their property. The work that you do and your colleagues in your community do gives us the opportunity to help make people's lives a little bit better. So thank you so much for doing this today. And I have to tell you, I love being the property appraiser. But I was born in Broward County, 1977, a long time ago. I went to Western High School, which is located out in Western Broward County. I then went to a small school called Palm Beach Atlantic University, where I played baseball and studied political science and history. And then I came back home and I went to law school at Nova Southeastern University, practiced law for some time. And then in 2006, I was elected to serve in the Florida House of Representatives. I represented Western Broward County. I did that for about 6 years. Then in 2012, I was elected to serve on the Broward County Commission. I served as 2 years as a county commissioner, 1 year as the vice mayor of Broward County, and then 1 year as the mayor of Broward County. And then in 2016, everybody in Broward County was nice enough to elect me to be their new Broward County property appraiser. And I have to tell you, out of all the jobs I've ever had, this one I love the most because I get to interact with everybody in the county and you can literally help thousands upon thousands of people. I feel very blessed that you and everybody else in Broward County allows me to do it. So thank you.
Marty, that's really great to hear. And you've been doing this for, what, 3 years now?
I am. I'm actually in my third year now, and it's been wonderful. You know, we have 200 some odd folks that work in our office, and there are really three main functions to the Broward County Property Appraiser's office. The first function is we determine the value of every piece of property in Broward County, whether it's residential, like folks' homes, commercial properties, maybe where they work, tangible personal property, that's basically the stuff in commercial properties, and centrally assessed properties, which are railroads. And the reason that's important is because when folks pay their property taxes, the amount of taxes they pay is the relationship between the value of the property that we set and the tax rate set by the local governments. So the higher the value of the property, the more taxes folks pay. The lower the value of the property, the lower amount of taxes they pay. Mm-hmm. And so the first thing that we want to do is just make sure we get it right. And you know, Broward County is a big place. More people live here than 13 states, the District of Columbia, and all U.S. territories except Puerto Rico. It's big. And there are more parcels that our office appraises than in many states. And I always tell folks, if they think we've made a mistake with the value of their property for tax purposes, give us a call. Come on down to our office, or we'll come to you. And if we made a mistake, we'll adjust the value accordingly. And if not, we'll let people know exactly how we arrived at any particular value. And the way that folks can determine the value of their property is a few ways. The easiest way is just going on our website at bcpa.net. They can type in their address, their name, their folio number, whatever they want to put in there, and all of a sudden their property record card will come up and it'll have all kinds of information about their property, including the value of the property for tax purposes. If they're concerned with that, give me a call. I'd love to go through it with them. The other way is in August, sometime down the road, but it'll get here soon. In August, they'll get a letter from our office in the mail. And I always tell folks that's not a tax bill. It's basically a document so they can make sure they don't overly pay in their property taxes. And that document will also have a lot of information, including the value of the property and all the tax saving exemptions they're currently getting. And I always tell people, if they have a concern with the value of their property, if they think we've made a mistake, if there's something about their property that we don't know that could actually decrease its value for tax purposes, give us a holler. Come on down here and let's go through it together. And I'll give you a quick example. Let's say somebody looks on our website and they see the value that we have, and they say, you know what, Marty's office is wrong on this value. They're wrong because the inside of my house is dilapidated. There's water damage. There's something on the inside that we don't see. Well, they can come down here and they can show me that. And if they can show us that, that can help us get a more true and accurate value for them, which would likely mean a reduction in their value, which is also a reduction in their property taxes. So that's our biggest function.
And that's great that you're so accessible to your constituents.
Oh,
that
thank
you're
you.
willing to have people come in here and have a chat with you. Which
thanks.
reminds me of a quick story is when I filed for my exemption. I don't know if you remember
I
this.
do, you were sitting right there.
But I came into the office and we did it together,
Absolutely.
which I thought was kind of cool of you to do.
Brian. Oh, it's my pleasure.
So let's say, because I am a realtor, so
Yeah.
for my first time home buyers, what's important about the homestead the Homestead Act.
Absolutely.
And give me a little bit of background on that and what it can do for them.
Sure, that is a great question. Well, as I said before, there are a few main functions to our office. The first, we determine the value of property that we just spoke about. But the second that we do is what I love most about my job, is we get to give tax saving exemptions to folks that qualify. And there are a lot of exemptions under Florida law that people qualify for. The most important one is the homestead exemption. What that basically means is if somebody buys a property and they say, this is my home, this is my primary residence, this is where I'm gonna live and raise my family, and they have no other exemption anywhere else, then they're entitled to a homestead exemption. And what that does, it takes $50,000 of value off the tax roll that they no longer pay taxes on. It can save them $800, $900, maybe $1,000 a year. But what it really does, the most important part of that homestead exemption, is that it makes sure they'll never be taxed out of their home, because once you get a homestead exemption, it caps the value you're taxed on at either 3% a year or the consumer price index, whichever's lower. So I'll give you an example. This year, the consumer price index was 2.1%. So that basically means even if the market value of somebody's home, basically what a willing buyer would pay a willing seller, goes up 50, 60, 70%, the value that they're taxed on can't go up more than 2.1%. The homestead exemption, it keeps people's taxes low and also low going forward, so they can always afford to live there. It's a great thing. And what's very important is anytime anybody buys a home, if it's gonna be their primary residence, they should sign up for the homestead exemption because it's there to protect them. And there are many other exemptions that folks can qualify for as well. The homestead exemption is like the gateway exemption.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get that, there are a lot you may be able to qualify for. Some are very large, some are very small, but what you can do is you can stack the exemptions to reduce your tax bill. For example, a widow is entitled to a small exemption. A person that's visually impaired is entitled to a small exemption. A veteran that is disabled is entitled to a large exemption if they're totally and permanently disabled or combat disabled, and also a pretty good size exemption if they're not totally and permanently disabled or combat disabled. You have other folks that with disabilities entitled to exemptions. You have first responders that may be entitled to an exemption. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of exemptions, and it's my goal as the Broward County Property Appraiser to find every person in Broward County entitled to a tax saving exemption and to give it to them. And these are exemptions that people have earned. They've earned it under our Constitution. It's the law. And when folks don't file for a homestead exemption, or they don't file for other exemptions that they're entitled to, it's almost like they're just basically giving away their money. Mm-hmm. They should be able to keep that money. They've earned it. And what I love about what you're doing, and what I love about our realtor community, is I cannot tell you the amount of folks that we've been able to help and give exemptions to solely because you and other people in the realtor community have sent them our way. Somebody closed down a house, they say, okay, great, now call Marty's office. And they call up, we sign them up for a homestead exemption or everything else they're entitled to, and it helps save them a lot of money. And I really believe that if you can help folks save a little bit of money, it helps them live a little better of a life.
Mm-hmm. So you've got all these different exemptions that people can apply for and can look for. What kind of outreach are you doing in the community besides this right here? I mean, this is outreach right here to get people, to give them the education they need to find out the right exemptions to go for.
That is a great question. Well, when I got elected to this job, I learned a few things. The first was not everybody knows exactly how the property appraiser's office can help them. And the second one is a lot of people overly pay in their property taxes because they don't always know what's available out there for them to help save them money. Mm-hmm. And so what we decided to do was to develop a very aggressive, what I call mobile exemption information team. They're not a typical outreach team. A lot of other elected offices will have outreach teams of people that go into the communities and they can't really do anything but promote whoever is in the seat. Our folks actually do a job. What they do is they go out in the community, they set up their tables, they put their computers on those tables, and their computers are connected to our internal servers. And then people from the community will sit down with them, they'll open up their property and they'll sign them up for tax saving exemptions on the spot, and they'll give them guidance and help on their specific properties. They actually do a great job in actually getting out there and helping the community. And to give you an idea, last year our mobile exemption information team went to about 1,300 events, and they helped thousands upon thousands of Broward County residents with their properties. I'm very, very proud of them, and I love the fact that that they take basically our office to the community. And the other reason I wanted to do it that way as well is, right now we're in downtown Fort Lauderdale. We only have one office, and Broward County is a big place. More people live here than 13 states, the District of Columbia, and all U.S. territories except Puerto Rico, and there are 31 cities. And it may not be very easy for a lot of folks throughout Broward County to get here. I mean, it's hard if you live in South Miramar, or if you live in Coral Springs, or if you live far from here to actually get to downtown Fort Lauderdale. So we like to take our office to the public, and that's what our mobile exemption information team does. And I always tell folks too, if they go on our website at bcpa.net, and they click on our outreach calendar, they can see exactly where our MEET team, our mobile exemption information team, will be that month. And they can go to any of those events and sit down with them and go through their property with them. And if they still can't make any of those events, our team will actually go to their homes and they'll do homebound visits and sign them up for tax saving exemptions on the spot.
Wow. Wow. So you're really getting out there and letting people know. And I'm sure you have more people signed up for the homestead exemption now than years prior as well.
We do. You know, every year I always ask for our numbers, and I like to compare them from the years before. And this year, from my understanding, once again, all of our exemption numbers were up from the previous year.
Mm-hmm.
And also portability as well, which I know we're going to talk about,
yes,
is up as well. And to me, that's a great thing, and I really think that's because the hardworking folks in our mobile exemption information team work so hard getting out into the public and making it as convenient for the public as possible to sign up for these exemptions. And you know, that's what I think the people of Broward County elected me to do. Mm-hmm. You know, everybody works very hard every single day. You know, everybody in our community is working hard. They're making ends meet. And there's a lot that they have going on in their lives. And if our office can make their lives just a little bit easier by bringing our office to them, a little bit more convenient,
mm-hmm.
For me, that's incredibly important.
Now, I actually was having a conversation with another realtor the other day and one of my buyers, and we were looking at a property. And we all had different ideas about what this portability law was. Mm-hmm. So if you can, in layman's terms, so that they can understand out there what the portability, how that works, that would be fantastic as well.
That is a great question. You know, portability is so important because it gives people the opportunity to buy one home, to move to a new home and not be taxed out of that new home. And here's the way it works. When you bought your home, you filed for homestead. And when you filed for homestead, not only was $50,000 of value taken off the tax roll, you don't pay taxes on, save you about $1,000 a year, but the most important part was the value that you're taxed on couldn't go up more than 3% a year, or the consumer price index, whichever slower. So every year the market value will continue to rise, but you have that cap in place. And so over time you get all this value in between your assessed value from that cap mm-hmm. and the market value of your property that you don't pay taxes on. What you can do is if you buy a new home, you can move your homestead now to that new home, and you can take that value with you and not pay taxes on it. So if you buy a home of equal value or greater value, you can take up to $500,000 of value that you've accumulated, you don't pay taxes on, and move to your new home and not pay taxes on it. If you buy a home of lower value, you take a percentage of that. Let me give you a good example.
Okay.
Let's say somebody moved into Weston Hills in Weston way back in the 90s when Weston Hills was created. And let's say they bought their home at that time for $210,000. Well, over time, as you know, the homes in Weston Hills have really gone up. And let's say they now pay taxes on $250,000 of value because that cap's in place. But the market value of their home is, let's say it's $750,000. They have $500,000 of value they don't pay taxes on. And now let's say they're empty nesters. Their kids are out of the house. Let's say it's a husband and a wife, and now they want to move here to downtown Fort Lauderdale. And they want to move to a condo. And they want to buy a condo for $750,000. Well, they sell their home there. They take that $500,000 that they don't pay taxes on. They move to their new condo here that they just bought for $750,000. And instead of paying taxes on $750,000, they're going to be paying taxes on $250,000 because they don't pay taxes on that value they moved over. So the taxes will be very similar to what they were in Weston. If portability wasn't there, then what would happen to everybody is once they would buy their new home, it would get reset to market value, and the taxes would
triple taxes.
Right, unaffordable for folks. And so that's the best way I can explain it. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
Oh, great.
I feel like I understand the very general premise of it. It can be complicated, but I appreciate it. So
the key is as you can only have one homestead per family unit. So if you have a property with a homestead, you don't have to sell that property. You just have to transfer your homestead to another
and
homestead.
That's a one-time thing you can do.
You can use as many times as you want.
You can use portability as many times as you want?
As many times as you want, and anywhere in the state of Florida.
The agent yesterday thought you could only use it once.
Oh no, as many times as
wow.
you want. You never run out of it. So take me as an example. In 2016, I had a little townhouse in the town of Davie. And I accumulated about $69,000 of value I wasn't paying taxes on because of that cap. Mm-hmm. I then moved to a single family home in Plantation. I was able to take that $69,000 of value with me and not pay taxes on it.
On top of the homestead exemption.
Right, on top of the homestead exemption. If I were to move to another home, whatever value I have there, I could do the same
And then
thing.
you're still capped.
Yes.
On the amount it goes up every year.
Once it's your homestead. Absolutely.
And that's the Save Your Homes Act, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Very good.
So it's a really neat thing. What I always tell folks is, there are a lot of nuances with regard to property, and there are a lot of laws in place about what people may be entitled to, what they may not be entitled to, what they can, portability, exemptions. And I always tell folks, if they are thinking about moving to another property, buying their first property, if they're thinking about doing something to the deed of their property, whatever they're gonna do, call our office, use us as a resource, and we'll let them know exactly what they're entitled to and give them all the information that they need so that they can, one, make the best decision possible with their property, and also make sure they're saving the most amount of money possible on their property.
Great. Well, you know what, Marty, we really appreciate it. Thank you for the explanations. Thank you for giving us a little more information so that we can understand what it is you guys do over here.
Oh, thank you.
I don't know if this is a series that I'm going to continue of interviewing local people in the community, but this was a really good first start.
Oh,
and as a realtor, we thank you for all your hard work that you've done for us, and we think you're doing a great job.
I appreciate. Well, I really appreciate it so much, Brian. You're a great guy, and like I said before, this means a lot to me. My goal is to reach as many people as we possibly can and help as many people as we can. And the only way I can do that is when good folks like yourself give me the opportunity to talk to folks on Facebook and to maybe reach the people that are your friends on Facebook that I can't reach on my own. And I have a very good feeling that as a result of this, we're probably going to get a few phone calls from the public saying, hey, I saw Brian Gold's video, and I think you can help me, Marty, and we're going to be able to help those folks. So I appreciate it very, very much.
Yes, and I hope the same. So here you have it, our Broward County property appraiser, Marty Kerr, and this is Brian Gold with Abode Real Estate, and thanks for watching.
That was great. I hope that made sense. I didn't ramble on too much.
It was awesome.
Oh, thank
Perfect.
you, Brian. I appreciate it.
I kind of got lost. Glad you brought up the portability.
Oh, you did great. I tend to ramble on, especially when I have a lot of